Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna go straight and we're gonna solve questions on implicit differentiation. But in this video, I'm gonna just solve an example only on first and second derivative. Is that okay? So it's very, very important that you review my previous video. So where I listed out the steps. So the essence of why I did the previous video is that so that I can list all the steps so that you can follow me when I'm trying to solve a particular question, okay? So as usual, if you've not reviewed my previous video, it's a very good time to stop. Go back and watch the video just before this and make sure you have the steps written in your notebook so that when we go to the next, when we're going to solve the next example now, you're able to follow through. Also, if you've not liked, shared, and subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please do that so that when I post new video, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so the example we're going to have here, we have an example here that we're going to solve. So the example is we have x squared. No, so let's do it this way. We're told to find, question was find dy over dx and the 2y over dx squared, okay? For the equation we're given was x squared plus 2xy plus 3y squared equal to 4. So you can see this is implicit because the x and the y are together. Is that okay? So what I would do, what I always advise students, you can pause the video here, all right? Go back to the laws that we've talked about and see if you can solve it. And if not, it's fine. Come back, press play button, and you can also have a look again. All right, so let's solve these questions, okay? So if you go to the laws, the rules are the steps I said in the last video. I'm going to combine step 1 to 4 together. So step 1, I told you to differentiate x normally. Step 2, you have to differentiate y as normal, but also add the y over the x. Step 3, I told you that all the rules of differentiation will apply, okay? So let's start with step 1 and 3 first, okay? So we're going to do step 1 to 3 now. So I'm going to combine it together. So anytime we're going to solve x, you solve it normally. Differentiate x, you differentiate it normally. Anytime you're differentiating y, you add the y over the x. Okay, so let's go. So the first thing we have, I'm going to pick this individually so that it will make sense to you. Is that okay? So let's start with the first one. Oh, we have x squared. So when you differentiate x squared, so you differentiate x squared, you differentiate it will give you what? 2x. So you differentiate it as normal. Now the next one, we're going to have 2xy. Okay. So the next one we're going to have now is 2xy. So 2xy. Now, remember I told you in step 3 that all the rules of differentiation apply. So you can see we have both x and y. So because we're having both x and y, we're going to apply the product rule. So you can rewrite this again as 2 into bracket x, y. Are you seeing it? So because of this, you can see x is multiplied with y. So that means we have to use what? Product rule. Okay. So now, product rule, just to remind you, I told you that product rule for dy over dx, when you're using product rule, is equal to u v prime plus u prime v. So we've talked about this before, okay? So what we're gonna do, so you're gonna make x here, this is gonna be a u, and this is gonna be a v. So u is gonna be equal to x, v is gonna be equal to what? Y. So u prime, when you differentiate x, is going to give you 1. When you differentiate y, is going to give you what? 1. But remember, anytime you differentiate y, you have to add what? The y over what? The x. Are you seeing it? So it's be 1 times the y over the x, which is going to give us what? The y over the x. All right, so then we now apply the formula now. So we have the u is going to be what? X multiplied by the v prime, which is what? The y over the x. plus u prime is 1 multiplied by what? V, which is what? Y. And that will be the answer for that. So I'm going to take all this and put it in the bracket here. So it's going to give me 2 into x, okay, dy over dx, plus 1 times y is going to give us y. Is this making sense? Then the next thing is we then open the bracket. So it's going to give us 2 times x dy over dx is going to give us 2x dy over dx, plus 2 times y will give us what? 2y. All right. Now the next one is what we have here. We have is 3y squared. Okay. The next one is 3y squared. So we're going to go down now. Next one we're doing is 3y squared. And when you differentiate this, it's going to give us 6y. Okay? But anytime you differentiate y, you have to add what? The y over what? The x. Then the final variable we had in the question, we had 4. Okay? So in the rules of differentiation, I told you that anytime you differentiate a constant, it's going to give you what? 0. So when you differentiate 4, 4 is going to give you what? 0. All right, so now we've differentiated each and every one of this. So the next thing you have to do, we have to bring them all back into a particular what? Equation. So we're going to bring them all back now. So instead of us having x squared, we're going to replace it. So the x squared we had, we're going to replace it with what? 2x. Okay. So the x squared is going to become 2x. Okay. Now the next one, the 2xy, we're going to replace it with what? 2x dy over dx plus 2y. Then the y squared, 3y squared, we're going to replace it with what? 6y dy over dx, and equal to the 4, we're going to replace it with what? 0. Now, we're going to go next step, step 4. Now, step 4, please, that's the reason why I said you need to write the step down. Step 4 now said you have to make dy dx the subject of the formula and simplify, okay? So what are we going to do? So we're going to put, take all the other variables to the other side. So I'm going to take 2x to the other side, and it can become minus, okay? So it's going to become, and I'll take 2y to the other side, it's going to be minus, okay? Or better still, if you prefer this way, you can subtract 2x from both sides and subtract 2y from both sides. Any method you want is going to be the same thing. So we're going to have, so we have 2x. So if you want to use the subtraction method, because I found that student loves subtraction method. So what I'm going to do, because I want the y over the x to be on one side, I'm going to first subtract 2x from both sides. So it's going to give me 2x, okay, minus 2x, then plus 2x dy over dx, okay, plus 2y, plus 6y dy over dx is equal to 0 minus 2x. So it becomes 0 minus what? 2x. Are you seeing it? Then this 2x will cancel this 2x. Now, also to remove this 2y, we're going to subtract 2y from both sides, okay? So we're going to subtract 2y from both sides, and this is going to give us the same thing. We'll have 2x dy over dx plus 2y minus 2y plus 6y dy over dx will be equal to 0 minus 2x, then minus what? 2y. Are you seeing it? Then this 2y, we cancel this 2y. So then we are going to be left with you'll be left with 2x dy over dx plus 6y dy over dx, sorry, dy over dx will be equal to minus 2x minus 2y, because 0 minus that will still give you that. Now, the next step is that you then have to collect like terms, okay? So because we are making the y over dx root of the formula, so we're going to collect like terms. So the common thing there is the y over dx. And then you're going to have 2x plus 6y will be equal to minus 2x minus what? 2y. Okay? Then when you're done with that, okay, you then have, so you'll have to make the y over the x root of the formula. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide both sides by 2x plus 6y. And I divide this as well by what? 2x plus 6y. So this will cancel that, all right? Then we now have the y over the x will be equal to minus 2x minus 2y, okay, divided by 2x plus 6y. Or you can want to further simplify this if you want to. Sometimes, personally, I prefer to just leave the answer like this, but in some cases, in some exams, you might be required to take it a step further to simplify, okay? So if you were asked to simplify, so if the question wanted you to simplify, then you can do the extra step, okay? If they ask you to simplify. So what is common here? What is the common factor here is 2. So you're going to have 2 into brackets minus x minus y divided by what is common factor here is going to also be 2. Will be x plus 3y. Are you seeing it? So 2 cancels out, and you then have minus x minus y divided by what? X plus 3y. Okay? So this could be the answer, or you can have this as the answer. So that's the first answer. We found the dy over dx. Okay? So that was what the question asked us to do. The question wanted us to find what? The y over dx. Now, but if you look at it, the question also wanted us to find the second derivative. And to find the second derivative, that will be step 5, okay? So I wrote it down in the book, the previous video, where I said step 5. So we need to find the second derivative. So we need to find the second derivative. We're finding the 2y over the x squared, okay? Now, this is the second derivative. Right, so we're finding the second derivative of the answer we got here. So we had the y over dx to be equal to. So I'm going to use the first one to solve it, just out of preference. You can use this one. You still get the same thing, but I would just prefer to use the first one here. So we're going to have second derivative of the answer we had here, minus 2x minus 2y divided by 2x plus 6y, okay? So now, to find the second derivative, this is step 5, okay? Step 5, okay? So in step 5, I told you that all the rules of differentiation applies here, okay? Now, if you look at this, how do you solve this now? How do you now solve? And what rule do you think comes to mind here? So because we're having division, so we're having a numerator dividing a denominator, okay? So that means you're going to have quotient rule here. Is that okay? You're going to have quotient rule here because we are having the u is going to be so the u is going to be the minus 2x minus 2y, and the v is going to be what? 2x plus 2y. So therefore, we're going to use what? Quotient rule here. All right, so we're going to use quotient rule to differentiate, because when you differentiate it the second time, it's going to be the second derivative. So therefore, in this case now, the u is going to be equal to minus 2x minus 2y, and the v is going to be 2x plus 6y. All right, and that's how you do it. All right, so let's apply the quotient rule. If you remember, the quotient rule will be the 2y over the x squared. So I've talked about the quotient rule before. So it's going to be vu prime minus uv prime divided by what? V squared. All right. So we've talked about the quotient rule before. So if you've not watched my video on quotient rule, please go back and have a look. Okay, so let's go. So in this case now, we've agreed that the u is going to be minus 2x minus 2y. All right, so the u prime, so you're going to differentiate this. So as usual, anytime you differentiate x, you differentiate it normally. So it's going to give us minus 2. So when you differentiate minus 2x, will give you minus 2. Now, when you differentiate minus 2y, it's also going to give us minus 2. But anytime you differentiate y, you add what? The y over what? The x. Are you seeing it? Then v, the v, we had it to be what? 2x plus 6y. So the v prime is going to be, anytime you differentiate x, you differentiate it normally. So when you differentiate 2x, it's going to give you 2. When you differentiate 6y, it's going to give you what? 6. But because it's y, you have to add what? The y over what? The x. So we then put it in the formula now. So now the second derivative will be equal to the 2y over the x squared will be equal to the v, which is 2x plus 6y, multiplied by u prime, is going to be minus 2 dy over what? Dx minus our u is what? So, yep, our u is minus 2x minus 2y, and our v prime is going to be what? 2 plus 6 dy over what? Dx. All divided by our v squared is going to give us what? 2x plus 6y all what? Squared. And then that will be the answer for this. Usually, there's no need to simplify unless you're being asked to, okay? So if you are asked to simplify, then you can simplify. But if you're not asked to, you can leave your answer like that, okay? And that will give you the answer for that. So unless you're asked to simplify or break it down into the most simplest form, then you have to expand the bracket. You have to collect like terms and do the rest. But if you're not being asked in the question, for me, I think it's okay to just leave it like this and go to the next question, okay? All right, so we're going to go to the next video now. And the next video now will be how do we now find the nature of a stationary point? So that means the nature now means that you should know how to first find the first and second derivative. So what I'll advise you, go to the textbook and the worksheet, pick several questions on implicit differentiation, try to see if you can find the first and the second derivative. And when you're comfortable with it, then you move to the next video. But if, for instance, you have questions and you're not sure, please don't hesitate to contact me, send me an email, or you can drop a comment and I'm going to respond to you as soon as I can. All right, so I'll see you soon in the next video where we're going to talk about the nature of what? Stationary point. Okay, see you soon.